The first year of being a widow was by far the most difficult. When I got the news that my husband had been killed in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan, it felt like an atomic bomb had gone off inside my head. My entire life, my body, my heart, felt as if I'd gone into a free fall. For weeks I was reeling with pain and loss, stumbling from one day to the next. It felt wrong that the world would continue when it had come to a complete halt for me. With no other choice, I struggled to make sense of this new reality that was mine. Only a few months after I received word of Paul's death, against everyone's advice, I left the corporate world and purchased a bed and breakfast. I moved from Seattle to a quaint community called Cedar Cove on the Kitsap Peninsula. The first night I spent as the inn's new proprietor, I felt Paul's presence as keenly and profoundly as if he were sitting by my side and speaking to me. He told me I would heal at this inn, and all who came to stay would find a harbor of healing as well. It was for that reason that I named my bed and breakfast the Inn at Rose Harbor. Rose for my husband, Paul Rose, and Harbor for the promise he had given me. Over the last 18 months, I have seen that promise come to fruition and witnessed it with many of my guests as well. Slowly, one day at a time, I've forged a new life for myself, a life without Paul. Recently I read the last letter my husband had written to me, a love letter he'd penned in case he didn't return. It took a long time to find the courage to absorb what he had to say, mainly because I didn't want to accept the fact he was really gone. As I knew he would, Paul wrote that he loved me and that he would always be with me. He asked that I live a good life for the both of us. I'd taken Paul's words to heart and built a new life without him as best I could. As he'd foretold, the inn became the focus of the new me. Every day was a learning opportunity, a season of personal and professional growth. For one, I became far more proficient in the kitchen, creating tasty breakfasts for my guests. I also made friends in the community, good friends. I adopted a dog from the local animal shelter, Rover, who'd been named that because when he was found, it looked as if he'd been roaming on his own for quite some time. Rover had become my constant companion, my comforter, and my guard. I found it uncanny how well he sensed and reacted to my moods. It was almost as if Paul had directed Rover into my life. One of the strongest friendships I forged was with my handyman, Mark Taylor. Mark can be prickly and mysterious, and while I considered him a friend, he could irritate me faster than anyone I'd ever known. I like to think of myself as even-tempered and not easily riled. Not so with Mark. Only a few words from him could drive me up the wall. At times he can be so unreasonable and demanding. A good example of that happened last spring. I was washing the outside windows, balancing on a ladder. Out of the blue, Mark insisted in the most unpleasant way that I climb off the ladder. I refused, and he became so infuriated that he'd walked off the job. Really, he had no right to dictate what I do or don't do. It took a while for us both to cool down and be reasonable. Ever since I read Paul's last letter, my emotions have been on a roller coaster. I felt as if I was losing Paul. I'd stopped dreaming about him, and when I held his favorite sweatshirt, I could no longer smell the essence, the aroma that had been my husband's. As I slowly let go of Paul, I distracted myself by trying to crack the mystery that was Mark. He'd always been secretive and never talked about his past. He was hiding something, and I knew it. I plied him with questions which he either refused to answer or completely ignored. I quizzed people who knew him before I moved to Cedar Cove, all to no avail. I went so far as to invite him to join my parents and me for dinner one night about 3 weeks ago. My mother has a gift for getting people to talk about themselves, and if anyone could weasel information from Mark, it would be my mother. He thwarted me once again by refusing the invitation.